In the winter of 1950, a century-old autocratic government began to crumble. The Rana family had ruled Nepal with an iron grip for 104 years. But an armed revolution led by the Nepali Congress Party, combined with a king who actively backed the rebels and fled his own palace, finally broke their hold on the country. King Tribhuvan sought refuge at the Indian embassy and departed for New Delhi. There, under the mediation of Indian Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru, a tripartite settlement known as the Delhi Agreement was struck between the Ranas, the revolutionaries, and the royal family. This agreement allowed King Tribhuvan to make a triumphant return to Kathmandu. On February 18, 1951, he officially declared the end of the Rana regime and the establishment of democracy in Nepal. Overthrowing an autocratic regime is not the same as building a functional state. Removing a dictator removes an obstacle, but it leaves behind a massive, highly volatile void. The newly formed transitional cabinet required 5 leaders from the Revolutionary Nepali Congress to govern equal parts of the state alongside 5 leaders from the Rana faction. The revolutionaries were forced to share immediate power with the exact people they had just fought a war to overthrow. Placing 2 fiercely opposed factions in the same workplace predictably stalled any real progress. Internal conflicts, fierce disagreements, and deliberate obstruction became the daily routine, making basic governance nearly impossible. After months of gridlock, the Congress ministers resigned en masse, demanding a single-party cabinet. The remaining Rana prime minister quickly quit under pressure, causing the first democratic government to collapse just months after it was formed. Removing the Rana family's 104-year monopoly on power left an enormous vacuum at the center of the Nepali state, triggering a chaotic and desperate scramble for control that would define the rest of the decade. Over the next decade, Nepal entered extreme political turbulence. Leadership changed hands 9 times, as shifting alliances toppled interim governments. Capitalizing on this, rebel commander Dr. K.I. Singh rejected the Delhi Agreement, launching an armed movement in the Western Hills. Singh was initially captured, but in early 1952, his supporters orchestrated a massive, highly coordinated jailbreak. They successfully attacked and temporarily took full control of Singha Durbar, the central government secretariat, along with the local airport and communication networks, allowing Singh to escape to Tibet. While political parties fractured and rebels attacked the capital, the monarchy was changing. When King Tribhuvan passed away, his son, King Mahendra, inherited the crown. King Mahendra was highly ambitious, and he frequently dismissed the weak interim cabinets in order to run the entire government directly by himself. While the civilian politicians spent the decade fighting each other in a game of musical chairs, they were steadily losing the actual board. True political authority was quietly concentrating back into the hands of an increasingly active absolute monarchy. By 1959, the country finally held its first historic general elections. This was the long-delayed promise of the 1951 revolution, giving the public a direct vote. Out of 109 constituencies, the Nepali Congress won a decisive 74 seats. Their leader, BP Koirala, was elevated to become Nepal's first democratically elected prime minister. Koirala's government moved quickly. They modernized national infrastructure, established the first university, and founded a central bank. They also aggressively expanded their global diplomatic relations, eventually securing an official place within the United Nations. For the first time in Nepal's history, a civilian leader held a massive, undeniable popular mandate. His government was highly popular, possessing an authority that directly rivaled the traditional power of the king. Prime Minister Koirala believed in a system where the elected parliament held supreme authority. King Mahendra, however, believed his authority was divinely ordained and absolute, leading to a fierce ideological clash between the 2 leaders. This philosophical divide quickly became a practical one. The king and the prime minister repeatedly locked horns over who should truly command the national military, who had the final say in foreign policy, and who was ultimately steering the direction of the country. The tension became impossible to ignore. At one notable dinner event, King Mahendra openly expressed his discomfort with the arrangement, remarking that 2 tigers could not survive while living in the same cave. A drafted constitution and a popular vote look strong on paper. That they are completely ineffective when the reigning head of state simply refuses to acknowledge the limits of his own power. On December 15, 1960, King Mahendra executed a swift and total royal coup. Using his military command, he suspended the newly elected parliament. He enacted a blanket ban on all political parties and arrested Prime Minister Koirala, locking the elected leader of the country in prison. In place of the multi-party democracy, Mahendra implemented the Panchayat system. This was a strictly non-partisan administrative structure designed for one specific purpose: to cement the king's unchallenged unilateral control over every layer of government. Nepal's first brief window of democracy closed almost as quickly as it opened. It proved that without deeply rooted, unshakable institutional guardrails, the collective votes of millions can be wiped away overnight by the unchecked ambition of a single individual.